Thank you so much for clicking and getting this video. Today's talk is called True Self-Care: How to Love Motherhood and Live with No Regrets. And I'm really happy for you that you're here. And it's really for those of you that are gentle, heart-centered moms, totally devoted to your children, but you're feeling a little bit lost, a little bit unfulfilled, maybe not quite enjoying motherhood how you want to be or how you hoped you would be. And I just want you to know that you can just relax and watch today's video. It will be just a few minutes long. I know you could be doing, a million other things right now. And I want to let you know that you can't buy anything on this. This is purely for your information today. However, I will make sure to show you what we could do possibly together. And there's a link to book in a call if you just want to have a chat once you've heard what I have to say today. So really, there are three pillars to your motherhood, I think, that really ensure that you enjoy it and get everything from it that you want to. And those three pillars really are the connection to your child, the connection to yourself, and the connection you have to your tribe. And because of these pillars and having this in my life as the foundation in my mothering journey, it just means I'm really confident in my parenting. I have great relationships with my children. I'm really happy with, how they're turning out. I have supportive people all around me. And honestly, one of the best things is that when difficulties come up, I find I can move through them quite quickly. And that's important because, let's face it, things are always going to pop up that are struggles in our lives. But it wasn't always this way. And I am looking at my notes a little bit. I have a lot I want to cover in a short time today. So, I struggled for a lot of years in my parenting. I put my kids and my partner and everybody else before me. And as time went on, I just felt anxious, overwhelmed, exhausted, really. And it wasn't just that, but that after a few years of being that way, as my kids were getting a bit older, I realized I didn't really know who I was anymore outside of motherhood. And I really wasn't feeling fulfilled by just being a mom. And I really did everything to try and make it work. I researched, I was learning everything I could. I did all the gentle parenting strategies. I actually went on antidepressants at one point. I was in a support group. I really was trying it all. And of course, I was doing some of the traditional self-care, going out for the massage. I did a yoga retreat, just everything I could think of to make myself feel better. But the problem was, no matter what I did, I still pretty much felt like a mess inside, if I'm being honest. But what happened then was, I was getting into working more and more with my clients as my kids were getting older. And in a way to support them, I went to learn about something called acceptance and commitment therapy. So thinking I was going there to help my clients, I quickly realized that it was probably me that needed to be hearing the information. And sure, it would help my clients, but really it was helping me. And in just a few hours in that course, I realized that it was kind of like my hands were up in front of my face. And I had this beautiful life and these beautiful children. And from the outside, everything looked great, honestly. But it was like I couldn't even see it anymore because I was so caught up in my negative thoughts and feelings. And I didn't really know what to do about it. But I was learning about it in this conference. So I immediately came home, put all of that stuff into practice, and really things started getting so much better. My husband was even taking it on board, which was amazing. He's not usually into, self-improvement kinds of things, and he took it on board, which was great. But then unfortunately, something went on with our son, and I realized that actually I was responding to this challenge pretty much the same as I always had. And it's when I realized that although what I was doing was helpful, the changes were never permanent. And as luck would have it then, or as the universe works, that's when I met the most amazing woman. She's now probably my biggest mentor and teacher, Colette Stryker. She really taught me the most amazing new method. And, you know, when I met her, I did understand a lot of what was going on, what we were learning about neuroscience, about the brain, and how the brain is always changing. It's always plastic. You know, the beginning of life, it was when it wires up the most, but it's never too late to kind of rewire and change things in our brain. But before I knew Colette, I didn't really know how you could do that. I just knew that it was possible. Well, fortunately, I got to work directly with her, experience her MAP method. And, you know, really until then, I had been investing so much time and so much money into things that really weren't changing me permanently. But this is what I found, is with this really gentle way of doing things, I really had success. I was free of old patterns that had been with me for all of my life. I felt more in control of how I was acting and reacting. I was just living with a lot more clarity and purpose and just ease, really. And honestly, for the first time in so long, truly enjoying my life. And it felt like a dream come true to me, because I'd always wanted a way, not just to get myself to this point, but to help my clients get to this point. You know, I see them as I'm helping them with breastfeeding or their toddler's behavior. I can see the struggle, the internal struggle, the personal struggle, and I always wanted the way to help them. So it wasn't just about me anymore. So when I combined for myself MAP with all of the other things that I learned over 25 years in my professional experiences and education and my 13 years of parenting, it was like I finally had the missing piece of the puzzle. Like, I finally have the whole package here. So I certified using the method, and it was one of the most exciting things. And I immediately started using it with my clients. And, you know, I'm going to just read for you what Michelle had to say. I sought help from Anne when I was feeling a little lost with life. I did 3 sessions with her, and it's had a remarkable effect on my life. I am able to rationalize things that would have triggered me, and they no longer seem to bother me. It has definitely helped me interact better with my family and take a calmer approach to life. I mean, and really, isn't that what it's all about? Isn't that what we all want? And, you know, the big problem is that even though we're so devoted to our children and to our families, and we want nothing more than for them to have the most amazing life, the problem is that many of us just aren't enjoying motherhood as much as we want to be. And maybe we're feeling lost and unfulfilled. Maybe we're just being more reactive, but something's not right, and we know that something's just not right. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I want to keep this shorter for you today. But there's 5 big mistakes really that I see leading to this. The first is that we're striving for perfection. We're always trying to be the perfect mom, and it really gets us feeling like we're not good enough most of the time. It leads to a lot of problems. The other thing is we try and do it all alone. We're not very good at asking for help. We're just not able to ask for help. You might be isolated like me as an expat without family around. There's lots of reasons we end up doing it all alone. We also basically do the wrong kinds of self-care, you know, so this is about true self-care, not just about going out and having the massage or going for a walk. Those things are great. I don't want you to stop doing them, but it really doesn't change who you are from the inside. Another big mistake we make is that we're really lacking clarity. You know, you might have known who you were before you had kids, and even if you did, now that you do, it's like, now who am I? Things have changed. Maybe not everything, but things have changed. So we need to come back and get really clear. Who am I now? The other thing I see, the fifth mistake, is that we're not living in the present moment. We are so worried about what we've done or what is going to happen that we're in the past or in the future most of the time. And rarely are we just here in the present moment. No, the truth is a happy family begins with a happy you. You really need to commit to, being the best version of yourself. When you are the best version of yourself, you become the best mother that you possibly can to your children. And, you can buy all the best things and put them in the best classes and, think you're doing all of the right things. And sure, all that's great. But if you're not coming from a place of really, like I say, being the best version of you, that's what's going to impact them more than all of that stuff out there. So the first thing we need to do, like I said, is connect to our child. And here's why this is important, because it is huge, and that's why it's one of my 3 pillars. You see, there is no greater predictor of success for your child in their later years than what kind of relationship they have with you, their mother, and their father as well. But how we rate our relationships with our parents, the kind of attachment we have to them, actually sets us up for better success in school, in work. Actually, we have better health outcomes. Certainly, we're more emotionally stable, and it sets us up for great relationships in life. Sadly, only about 60% of people are raised having a secure attachment. That means 40% of us out there weren't raised that way. And it's really, really vital that we raise our children with this secure attachment. So the first thing we need to do is really understand that and learn about how that happens, how that works. So understanding that is the first step. Once you kind of know what you need to do, of course, there will be challenges that come up. So the second step to connecting with your child really is having a system to manage difficult behaviors. And a lot of times people are very confused about this because they hear, of course, you're not supposed to spank or spank your child. I'm not supposed to put them in timeout, but I don't know what to do. I wasn't brought up this way and I don't know what to do. So learning a way to manage your children's difficult behaviors and strong emotions in a way that keeps that connection is extremely important. And then the third step, of course, we're not perfect. We're going to mess up. Sometimes we're going to yell or slam a door or do something we do regret with our kids. So the third step in staying connected to your child is to have a way to repair your relationship. So we really need to have those ways of managing once we understand what they most need, and then repair from any, I call, relationship ruptures that come up along the way. So one of my clients says, that learning these methods really changed. And it wasn't just knowing she needed to remain calm. It was having the steps and actually knowing what steps to follow that really changed things for her. And I truly feel like just even in my own children, who at the time that I've done this video are 14 and 11, because I've met their needs through time when those needs were there, they are now so well behaved. They do as I ask them, and I don't have to yell. We have such a nice, calm house. We have mutual respect and strong relationships, and of course they're not perfect, but when things go on that somebody's not proud about, we have a way to reconnect and to repair whatever has happened. Now, I know you might be thinking that it's a little bit too overwhelming because you've got lots of demands on you. You might have really different children or quite a few children. Some people get really concerned because they think, but my children are older. They might even be older than my children are. And that's okay, because it's never too late to be working on these things. And that's the beauty of what we know now about the brain and relationships. It's never too late. So don't even worry about that. And also that parenting is really not about perfection. And it's okay if some things have happened throughout your child's upbringing, no matter how long it's been, that you're not really proud of or that you wish were different. That's okay. We can work on that. So the next step is connecting to yourself. You know, as the saying goes, you can't pour from an empty cup, but I think we're all probably guilty of trying to. So this one's probably, I think most of you probably understand this one without me needing to explain it too much, at least what the problem is, that, you know, you're giving and giving and giving and giving. And not only does your family start to get, or your friends or whoever start to get a not so good version of you, but you just know internally that, you know, it's not right. And quite frankly, you might be sick of it by now. That's certainly how I got. It just kind of felt like it was snowballing, and I was slowly kind of losing my passions and not really knowing what direction I wanted to take. I didn't, yeah, I just didn't feel that fulfilled self. I wasn't really loving what I was doing all the time, and sometimes feeling a bit resentful. So, but you know, we want to put some structure around this as well. So again, I've got 3 steps for connecting to yourself. And just quickly, first, we need to discover who we truly are. Like I mentioned, you know, we kind of become a new person when we become a mother. And unless we take time, which we often don't, to rediscover that, you know, really look at who am I, what lights me up, what are my values, all of that stuff, you know, it's a problem. So we need to discover or rediscover who we truly are. And the second is we need to release whatever's holding us back. Now, personally, I use the MAP method. I have found it far and above better and easier than anything else I've ever used. But, you know, we're carrying around the past. We are. Whether you had big trauma or small trauma in your life, or a bit of both, it doesn't matter. You know, our brains are like these amazing libraries that have held onto it all in our bodies. So we really need to have a way to release that. The third step of connecting to yourself is to focus on what you want, rather than being worried about the past and the future and never being in the present moment. We want to be in the present moment. We want to focus on what we want and attract that into our lives. And I know, so you could be thinking that your problems are just way too big, but I'm telling you, this is very, very manageable. Once you know the systems and the steps, and you've got a gentle method like MAP to use to get through some of that stuff, it really, really can be done. I've had a lot of struggles, and I'm not going into my childhood struggles right now, but if I can do it, so can you. And I know you might be thinking, but I made commitments to myself in the past and I didn't quite keep them, and it just seems like a lot to commit to. But you know, each journey is just kind of one step after the next, and with a little bit of support, I know you can get there. So, and that leads me into the last pillar of a happy motherhood and true self-care, and it's connecting to our tribe. And really what I did, and many of my clients do, it seems to be a common theme, you know, we don't want to bother anybody, especially not like our partners or husbands. They often are busy, maybe have high stress jobs. We don't want to put any more burden on them. Sound familiar? You know, or you're like me, you're an expat, don't have family close, or maybe your family's just not helpful. Maybe they don't want you to, you know, they're not supporting how you're doing things. Maybe also like me, you kind of go to mom's groups and you don't quite fit in, and you know, that's not even working for you. Another common thing, I work with a lot of teachers, nurses, yoga instructors, meditation professionals, and they think, or therapists, and they think, oh, but I should know how to do all of this. Well, I was an early childhood teacher and a you know, professional at all of this, and I still needed help. So we do need our tribe, and I see it as 3 parts. Our like-minded parents, like-minded meaning if you are not okay with crying it out with your baby, for example, that you're around other people that support you in that, okay? So not just any old friends, but just that group, and it could be 1 or 2 or 3 people, that sounding board, they feel so good, and you have that sense of belonging with them. And then the parenting partnership. Now, it's not necessarily your spouse or the father of your children or the mother of your children. Ideally, that is, though. And we really need to protect that relationship, whether we're living in the same house or not. That needs to be protected. That is part of our tribe. And the last one is to have supportive professionals around us. How many of you have, say, been to the doctor and they're just not quite on board with, maybe they're prescribing medications more frequently than you wish they were, or maybe they encouraged you to wean from breastfeeding before you thought it was appropriate. It's great to have professionals around you that understand and really can relate to your values and your goals for yourself. It's obvious, the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It's totally true, but I actually think we've got it a little bit wrong, because what I think is it takes a village to support a mother so she can raise her children. So I'd be curious what you think about that, but that's the way I look at it. So I want to just briefly summarize kind of that path that I've just walked you through. Like I say, this is just short today. So remember the connecting to your child, developing that understanding, learning about attachment and how to provide that for your child, no matter how old they are, never too late. Learn about managing challenging behaviors with your children so that you stay connected. And this is whether they're a teenager or a 1-year-old. Repair any relationship ruptures to keep that connection strong. Then for yourself, discover who you truly are or rediscover who you truly are. Release whatever is holding you back. Drop that baggage from the past, big or small. If the trauma is there, it's causing you to be reactive to what's going on in your life now. And then we need to focus on what we want and stay in the present moment. And of course, we want to strengthen our relationships, our parenting partnerships, and have supportive people all around us. When you do all of this, when you have all of this, when you're constantly striving for this, ultimately, it means you're going to be the best version of yourself, and you can't turn back the clock. You can't set pause, on life. And your children, you're never going to be any younger than you are now, right? There's no do-overs in this. And it's never too late to start. Like I said, every 1,000-mile journey starts with one step, one step, one step. So I really do encourage you to, just imagine what it's like to get rid of some of this anxiety, to really feel confident, know where you're going, know what you're doing, building up those relationships around you. How good would that feel? It's amazing. It's amazing. I want that for you if you want that for you. So please book in a call if you want to talk. Absolutely no obligation. I do have a couple of programs that you can join in if you choose, or we can just work one-on-one together. There's a lot of different options. And so I'm not going into them on this call, but if you want to just chat, I'd love to know kind of where are you and what are you striving towards, what's missing for you, and maybe I can help you fill that gap. Maybe my Design Your Life program or my New Beginnings program will be that next step for you, and maybe not, and that's okay too. So book in that call. I really would love to talk to you, and I thank you so much for watching until the very end. Bye.